Hello. So another Wednesday, and we're back here teaching with all of you beautiful people again. And this time we're taking questions, or actually, first I'm going to answer some questions, and then maybe in the live chat see if anybody has a question to ask. But first, let me get to these questions, okay? Because for those who don't know, and many of you watch for the first time, we won't know. We actually have a academy, a Supernatural Love Academy, and you can find out about it on our website, supernaturallove.com. But what we do in the academy is live group coaching, and there's a lot of master classes in there. We've taught two so far, and there's over, to be honest with you, I think it's like 250 webinars, videos. There's so much content in there. But the main highlight of it is we do coaching, and we work with people one-on-one, and everybody learns from each other's challenges and stories. And the last class we had, I was supposed to answer questions that people had left in our private academy Facebook group, and I only got to answer one. So I thought, okay, we need to get to these questions. And so before I even get to the questions from our students, I want to start with one question that I hear all the time, which kind of relates to some of these questions that I'm going to answer. So one of it is, why am I not getting any signs? Like I have still not gotten any signs for my loved one. What's going on there? So it could be a couple of things. It could be your grief is so intense that they just can't get through. Grief, negative emotion like fear, grief, it just creates like a barrier. Okay, that's just how it is. And so when someone on the other side is trying to communicate, they have to penetrate any barrier. And some of them can, like some of them, even if the person has a lot of grief, they're so strong on the other side that that spirit could break through and therefore, communicate. So you can't compare what other people are experiencing to what you're experiencing, because their loved one on the other side could be quite strong, and even if their grief is intense. Okay. Now, if your grief is more under control, and I'm not saying that you have to get rid of it completely. I'm just saying you're not in heavy grief, as we would call it, then it's easier for them to connect. That said, you need to understand, again, that every spirit, when they cross over, are going through a different experience. They're in a kind of a transition stage over there. Some of them need to be in this, I don't know how to call it. It's more like and it's not they're not constrained. They're just processing the change. Like for some of them, it's so shocking that they need help with it, especially if, in some cases, maybe if they took their own life, they need to understand the ramifications of their actions. They're not being judged. And all souls go to the other side. All souls go to heaven. You cannot not go to the other side, because that's your permanent home. Nobody's ever denied entry. Doesn't matter your religion. It doesn't matter whether you were a good person, a quote, bad person. I'm just going to put that in quotes. It doesn't matter. Everyone goes back because the soul is eternal, and the soul cannot be constrained. It just cannot, right? So, but when they cross over, depending upon what they went through when they were in a body, maybe how sick they were, their fear beliefs, all that kind of stuff, it could take a while for them to be strong enough and ready to come through. Okay, so if you're not getting any signs, be patient, keep affirming that you will, and process your grief. That would be my main message to you. If you haven't gotten any signs, is because you only can do what you can do on your end. You cannot have it manage or have anything to do with what they're experiencing. All you can do is what you can do for you. So what you can do for yourself is allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself to have your emotions, let yourself feel all of your feelings, okay? Like get it out of you. And And when the in between moments, and you will find them, even if you're in grief, where you feel a little bit better, then relax, try to just affirm in your mind that you'll connect, think positive thoughts, because that's will help them. You and I can do so much to help them come through by holding positive beliefs, or at least having hope, okay, that we can connect. So do your best with that, and you should see at some point that you receive a sign. And by the way, when you get that sign, not if, when, you need to claim that sign and not think what a lot of people tend to do, think, "Oh, I must have imagined that," or, "Oh, maybe I'm making it up." Because when you do that, you're basically pulling the rug out from under them in a sense, because you're not accepting it. You're not believing it. You're not allowing the connection to get stronger with your doubt. So if you want signs and contact, I suggest you go all in, because if you waver in that, then you're going to get the same in return. You're going to get a wavering kind of connection. So believe in it, trust it, because then you help your loved ones come through. Okay. So now I want to get to my first question from my group. And this was from Jackie. And she wrote a long piece. I won't necessarily read the whole thing, but her basic question was wondering, why she doesn't remember the experiences she's having with her husband. And she's having some quite, extraordinary experiences with him. She really feels him blending with her. So I'll just pick it up right here in what she wrote to me. But I get so deep and lost in the moment, I can't remember anything. I am content and I feel his love very strongly, but hours have gone by and it feels like seconds, and I don't remember anything from those hours but how I felt. The feeling is so amazing, I find myself wondering what he did or what we talked about to make me feel that way. I hope it makes sense. It's so hard to explain all these new feelings and emotions, and I'm still fairly new at this. Okay, so here's what's going on. Remember, they're in another dimension. They're in the fifth dimension. Some people call it the fifth density, the fifth realm, whatever you want to call it, but they're not here, right? They're not here in this dimension where you and I are. So they're reaching through another dimension. And I'm not going to say that it would be impossible to have constant interaction and recall, because what spirits told me is nothing is impossible unless you believe it's impossible. But let's just say right now, for most of us, this is not going to be likely, but who knows, right? So if you want to experience this, Jackie, or anybody else, just lean into that. Okay, well, maybe I'll be open to whatever. That's a better attitude to have, is just say, I'm grateful for whatever experience I have, because that's the way you'll have more. Whereas if you say, well, this isn't enough, or I would like something else, or I want more, you are projecting lack energy, right? And you're going to get more of that in return. Whatever you put out, you get back. So what's Jackie's experiencing, which isn't unusual, is that because they're in another dimension, and we have to raise up our consciousness and be in a certain slightly altered state. You're not in a trance state. You can be fully conscious, but even people who are channelers like I am, when we conscious channel, we're in an altered state. If you had tracked my brainwave pattern, you'd probably see that I'm at either, I could be at alpha for sure, or maybe even gamma. A lot of channelers, they enter the gamma brainwave state, and yet they're conscious. They're not in trance. Okay. So what happens? You go into a slightly altered state, and some people go quite deep. And so when you're in that state, you're not always going to remember fully what happened when you come out. Just like in a dream state, when you wake up and you remember fragments of the dream, maybe you remember how you felt in the dream, but you don't remember necessarily all the details, right? You can't like list it all out and say, oh yeah, this happened and this happened and this is how it is. So you're in that in-between state, and my suggestion to anybody, including Jackie, would be just enjoy it and know that, well, basically, relationships are for experiencing, right? Like for being together. And if you think about it, if you're connecting with a spouse or partner, it wasn't like you spent hours and hours just talking, talking, talking. Most couples don't, right? Maybe in the early stages of your courtship, you're all like sharing your stories, you're getting to know each other, you're talking away, sharing everything that happened to you in the past and all your hopes and dreams and all that. But at some point, you don't do that as much, do you? I mean, you talk when there's something to talk about, but is there always going to be something to talk about? Probably not. It depends what's going on in your life. Well, the same thing is true when you're connecting through the veil. Now, Alan's saying to me that your loved one is going to understand that it's not necessarily helpful or even useful or appropriate to tell you everything that they could. In fact, he says it's almost impossible for them to do that because they are experiencing so many things. Now, herein, I'm gonna answer what I'm already perceiving as a question that somebody out there is going to have. I think somebody did ask me this question somewhere. Like they're worried about, well, is my partner, my loved one, guy going on without me? They're having all these experiences, and now I'm left behind. Like, like, please, you're thinking of this from the 3D world. You cannot be left behind. There's no way. You are on the other side right now, the larger part of you. We've spoken about this many times and reminded you that many other spiritual teachers have said the same thing, that the greater part of us remains in the spirit world, and only part of part of us is here. Okay, so how could you be left behind when this is only, I mean, literally, when you cross over, you'll realize that this life, in the state of all of your existence, was like maybe 3 seconds. Alan says that's 1 second too long. 2 seconds. But you won't understand that until you return to non-physical. Okay. So while you're still here, please like stop trying to understand the spirit realm from the physical perspective, because the two things do not really line up very well. Okay. They're not the same. And in fact, there are, let's just say, worlds beyond the heavenly realm. That's only the fifth realm, or fifth dimension, as some people call it. There are worlds and realms beyond that. Okay, but we don't want to get into that, because then some of you are really going to start wondering, oh, well, then my loved one just is in all these other dimensions, and they're having other relationships, and they're whatever, and they're doing it without me. No, he's laughing now, saying, you are doing it with them too. You just don't remember it. So can you just focus on your life here for the 2 seconds that you're here in all of eternity? Okay, because that's what's most important. You chose to be here now. Okay, and while yes, you can explore other worlds and other realms and go to the other side and connect with your guides and your angels and your loved ones, we need to remember that we chose to be here in this physical world and figure out, okay, what am I here for? And maybe, quite maybe, your gift is just to hold this state of understanding that you're immortal and that your loved one is there and that you're connecting with them, and that is helping others do the same. For many of you, that could be your purpose for still being here. Okay, so I'm not, can't promise you that's what it is, but I'm just suggesting that for some of you that may indeed be what it is. Okay, so I think that answers that question. Oops, now I lost I lost my place. So hold on. Okay, here we go. All right. Now, Nick in our group asked a question. I've read that it's easier to connect with the person that passed more recently than earlier. And the exact quote was, most spirit communicators are recently passed. as he quoted somebody saying that. So what are your thoughts? So, um, we've talked about this before as well. In the early stages, when I say early stage, I mean the first few weeks, months, even first year, maybe even year and a half of their passing, spirits quite often have residual, what I call earth energy at their disposal, which makes it easier for them to not only communicate through the veil, but also to make contact. Like people quite often have visitations, and I don't mean just in dream time. I mean like they see their loved one. I've known people who said they saw them physically, they gave them a hug or touched their hand or whatever, right? There's can be physical manifestation. But that eventually fades, okay, because they have to fully withdraw their energy to be in the spirit world. And but it just takes a little time. And after that, they can still come through, but it makes it easier for them if you and I have raised our vibration, let go of fear, have processed our grief as best we can. And it doesn't have to be completely gone, just that it's not debilitating. Okay, so if we process that and we're feeling a little bit lighter, and I'm hearing spirit saying, and the most important thing is no fear of the afterlife, because that actually is a big barrier for many people, because many people are maybe because of movies and TV, they're afraid of supernatural. So if you have fear of the paranormal, of the afterlife, that's going to make it really hard. Fear is as equal a barrier as grief to spirit connection, because you're going to manifest your fears. So if you're afraid that, oh, I'm afraid that if I open up to my loved one, I'm gonna connect with a demon. Well, you're going to manifest that. You're The outer world is a projection of the inner world. So if you have fear thoughts about that, you're going to project them out here for you to look at and go, well, do I really want to believe that? Because all of everything you're experiencing is a projection of your inner world, of your beliefs, all of it. So don't like look at the mirror and get mad at the mirror for reflecting back to you what's going on with you, because that's what it's doing. Okay. So it's interesting to me that that's someone, a medium, I presume is this person he's quoting, might say, that most spirit communicators are recently passed, that they'd say that, and yet a lot of mediums will say you shouldn't have a reading until after a year or something. It's like, well, wait a minute, how can both be true? Like they communicate more strongly when they're recently passed, but we should wait a year before we have a reading. Both of those things are not true. They have nothing to do with each other. Okay, so go on to the next question, shall we? So this is from Cleo. She says, my question is, when I have meditated and I reach Rich and I see him clearly in front of me, does he see me clearly like I see him? And been asked this question before, and Spirit said kind of yes and no. Okay, because um, and Alan was saying they can see us as we see ourselves, and yet more. In other words, their ability to see is more, he says, enhanced. So yeah, you can see like, okay, you're wearing a red dress or something like that, but they can see more. Just like when you cross over, you'll be able to see deeper. You'll be able to see through time and space. You'll be able to see through so many things, right? So it's yes, and at the same time, they can just read our energy. Now, I want to state, although Cleo didn't ask this question has come up because some people think that our loved ones should know everything that's going on around us, and that's not necessarily true. We had a student who was upset because something happened to her that she felt, and it wasn't something tragic, she wasn't physically hurt or anything, but she thought, like, why didn't my husband tell me that that was going on? Like, why didn't he warn me? Because it cost her a lot of money. And basically she was connecting with him in a portable bathtub of some sort, and it overflowed, and when she was in meditation, it damaged the downstairs of her unit and cost her a lot of money to fix, and she was upset, like, "Why didn't he tell me?" And so when I tuned in to ask, and Spirit said, "Well, because they're not necessarily aware completely of what's going on around us, and they don't and some of them might be able to do that, not all of them can do that. We could certainly ask them, 'Hey, could you be more aware of everything going on in my space?'" But here's the thing that I wanna emphasize here. When they're connecting with us, this is not easy. Okay, just like similarly to people who go out of body and try to come back while they're out of body and maybe come up to their partner who's sleeping on the bed or maybe not even quite sleeping but dozing with their eyes open and trying to come to them and going, "Hey, hey, hey, I'm right here," because you can do that when you're out of body. Well, the person that is still in their body isn't necessarily going to perceive that because you're not in the same frequency, are you? You're not in the same you're not in the same realm. So what can happen is when your loved one is connecting with you through meditation, they absolutely can do that, blend with you, connect with you. You can definitely have a real experience of them in meditation. I want to assure you that. Now, they're blended with you, right? And Alan says they're going to be just focused on you. They're not necessarily going to be well focused on you, be aware of everything 360 degrees around you. But if you want them to, he says you could ask them to learn, and maybe they can, and maybe they can't. I don't know, but we cannot expect them to. A lot of us will tend to think like that they should be godlike and know everything and be able to do everything. That is not the case. Well, Alan says, well, it kind of is, but it isn't the case because they're on the other side, remember? So we have to remember there are I think 4 realms between us or something. There's dimensional space between us. He says we can't do that. So we need to be understanding of the limitations that they have. Okay. And then here again, somebody else might say, but wait a minute, I thought they were limitless. Why can't they do everything? Well, you and I are limitless too, but we're in this realm, this dimension, earth plane. And so this plane is really maybe this planet is one of the few, he says it's one of the few, this is the only realm, this color realm, that where there is such constraint and limitation. We came here primarily to learn what love is, but also what love is not. Both. What love is, what it is not. Sometimes you learn more what love is by experiencing what it isn't, because the contrast is so stark here on the earth plane that it really drives the point home. Whereas on the other side, when you exist in a state of timelessness, there's only love. There is not love. So you have to come to a place like this to experience not love, the illusion temporarily of the absence of love, because this is the only place where you have to go through what some call the veil of forgetting, to forget who you really are, that you're a soul, that you're eternal, that you'll always exist, where you forget who you are, you incarnate into a body and have amnesia, and then have to work your way back to, if you want to, remember who you are. Okay, this is the only, let's say, realm or world you visit where you have to do that, where you have to like forget. Every place else you visit when you're on the other side, you're fully aware of who you are. You create in an instant, but here it's all slowed down because you're here to learn from a different perspective that is impossible to experience when you're on the other side. And then I hear the question, why the hell would I do that? Why would I come here and submit myself to this world of limitation and restriction? My friends, you came here because as a soul, as the God that you are, that we all are, okay, your main motivating reason for existence, okay, is experiencing new experiences, okay? This is the only way to have it is to have a new experience is to experience what love is not, right? Because you only there's only love on the other side. And again, because your soul knows, wait, I'm only going to be here for 2 seconds in all of eternity. What's the big deal? I'll be okay. I can't be really destroyed. I can't be killed. Any pain I suffer is truly temporary. It'll maybe, Alan's saying, maybe take up in those 2 seconds of your life, maybe like a few milliseconds. So, oh, that's funny. See those balloons? Let's do that again. We'll do that again. Oh, it won't do it again. See the balloons pop up? Okay. So, because of that, your soul is all in. Like, sure, I'll go do that. Let me jump in there. Let me see what I can do with this. But when you're here, yeah, I know it's a different, you have a different perspective, right? Because now you're here and you go, wow, this is really hard. This is really hard. But remember, you all have guides and angels to support you, and you have loved ones in the spirit world who are also doing their best to connect with you and help. Okay. Cleo also went on to ask, I do have a second question. When we are between lives planning what our next life will be like, will our laundry list of desires as far as how we will look, our intellectual level, our memory ability, and other desires like wanting artistic ability be honored by the heavenly powers that be, or are some desires modified by them based on certain rules? That's a really interesting question because there are no rules. There are no heavenly powers that be. Everything is self-chosen. Everything is planned by you and only you, nobody else but you. And even if you plan your life a certain way, you always have the option to change your mind. So there's so much more I could say about this that I've learned, but I can't fit it all into here. But let's just say this, okay? You have always existed, will never cease to exist. And you have all the powers of the creator because you are the creator of your existence. You're unique in all of existence. There's only one of you. There will only be one of you. Just like every snowflake is unique, so are you. Okay. And you will always be who you are. The personality that you have is just one piece of the vastness of your soul that you chose to be, but it is still you, right? So if like, I'll use Alan as an example, just like to pick on him. So he has this great sense of humor. He has a larger than life personality, and that is him. But he has other sides to him that he says he never really showed me when he was here in a body because he just didn't bring that in. Okay, so in other words, you and I are more complex. We have more facets to ourselves than even we know about ourselves, and certainly about our partners. They haven't necessarily shown all of themselves to us. Okay, so you are the one that creates it all. You are the one responsible for it all. And I mean that in the positive way. Cannot be a victim. You are a creator. And so even you thinking that you're a victim is going to feel disconcerting to you because it's a lie. Okay. But you're so powerful, you can create the illusion of separation, even in non-physical. And that's what some people do when they cross over. They just forget and until they begin to recall because look around them the other because they're going to encounter other souls like other people and maybe deceased family members and who will say, hey, you're unlimited, you can do whatever, and they'll go, oh really? So they're going to start to shift that belief. But initially when you cross over, you're going to experience what you believe heaven to be until you see the broader picture, and eventually every soul does. But initially, if you believe there's a hell, and if you believe you deserve to go to that hell, you're going to end up in hell until you realize, oh, this is a false construct. It really is a false construct made up of my beliefs. So I want to assure Cleo and everybody that if you do choose to incarnate here or go anywhere else, it is all up to you. So now some of you, I can hear this other question. So you mean to say then that these problems I'm having, let's say with my body or with other people or whatever it is, the challenge I'm having. You mean I created that? I'd say yes. And if you don't like it, you can change it. You know, your soul knew that I can change my reality by changing my beliefs. I can even change my body. It might take a little longer because in dense 3D reality, things move slower, but I can certainly, and Alan's saying, wait a minute, he's telling me right now, wait a minute, instant healing is possible, which is true. But if you believe it, okay. But if you believe healing is going to take a long time, if you believe it's difficult, then it will be that way. See, everything comes down to belief. I'm sorry to have to tell you this because some of you are struggling with maintaining positive beliefs. And that's just because you've been living in a world that never taught you that. Did you? I mean, only recently did people understand that concept of creating your own reality. But it's always been that way. It's that way on the other side. It's that way when you're here too. Okay, because that's the law, if you want to say, you could say kind of that's like the law of universe or law of creation. You create through your thoughts. Whatever pattern of thought you predominantly think, okay, not every thought, but predominant train of thought that you think will manifest is reflected in your outer world. And that's why we're always saying to our students, you got to believe you can have this relationship and communication through the veil if you want to manifest it. If you don't believe it, you never will. If you're afraid of it, you never will, because your thoughts are going to block it out, block it out, block it out. It's just going to be that way no matter what anybody says or does. The good news is you can choose to believe differently. And when you start to change your beliefs, then your outer world has no choice but to line up and match that belief. All right, now I have Lisa question. Let's see. For many years now, decades really, I keep seeing the same set of numbers multiple times a day in multiple places every day. They happen to be my birth month and day, which is 210. There's even a company now whose name is these numbers. What do these numbers mean? What is the universe or my higher self or guys trying to tell me? All I can tell you is all I can tell you is a similar thing that happened to me, and because I spirit's saying this relates. Okay, so here it is. When I first started giving readings back in 1988 or 87, 88, I started, and I was reading in a new age store, and I'd get clients, constantly. And at that time, I would ask people their date of birth, not because I'm an astrologer, but because I knew that a date of birth is the signature of that person, right? Whatever that is. And I knew that I would get impressions off of their birthday. Okay. Skyland's saying is like psychic astrology. But anyway, I'd ask for their date of birth. And in 1 year's time of doing this, I literally met 12 people that had my month and day of birth, not year, but month and day, which is 8/19, August 19th. And and of course they weren't all like me, because they're all different, right? They're all at different ages. But I asked my guides, why is this happening? And they said, we just want to show you that everything in some way is like a sign from the universe or confirmation. And in this case, it was like for me, it was confirmation of you doing what you came here to do. That this is you, and you are mirrored in the clients that you talk to, which is true. So I knew that I was going to meet people that were mirroring to me something, and I always learned a lot from my clients. I would channel through some information, and I'd go, oh, that's really interesting, I'm going to take that, like that was insightful, I'm going to learn from that. And they said, why do you think we had you doing readings? So that I would learn through reading for other people. And I was doing this consciously, by the way, like eyes open, not like going to trance. I learned early on in my channeling practice, when I used to go into trance, I learned at one point because I'm working with somebody, and she was very psychic, and she said, "No, I think that it would be good if you opened your eyes and were a conscious channel, that you would just be just as clear." So I said, "All right." She encouraged me to try, and so with her there, I just opened my eyes, kinda looked, like, beyond her, like, looked at the wall behind her or something, just fixated my eyes somewhere, and I just started to talk and answer her questions, whatever, and she said, "Pam, that felt as accurate and as clear as what you said to me when you're in trance." And she actually was the first person who ever paid me for a reading. This was really in the early days. And I really wish I had kept that check. I should have framed it. She paid me $40. She didn't have to. I was just, I was just happy to practice with her. She says, "I'm giving you this because I know this is your life's work." And she helped me see that being conscious was better for me because I would learn through working with clients, right? Because they really started talking through me, and when people ask questions, even on message boards at the time, because there wasn't social media, somebody asked a question, and I'd feel spirit going, "Answer it, like answer it." And I'd go, "I don't know the answer." Of course, I didn't know the answer. Me, myself, and I, but them, yeah, well, they knew the answer to everything. So I would just channel the answer, and every single time people were just so thankful, and they said, "That helped me, that resonates with truth." And that's what I continue to do. That's what I'm doing even right now. I'm channeling. Okay, on some level, I'm channeling. And I want to thank Janice for your donation, $5. Thank you so much. Thank you for this safe and sacred space, creating this space to share. And I'm thank you so much. It means the world. Not it's not just the money. It's your appreciation. It's what we're here for. So the number thing can be as simple as the universe trying to say, "We're here. We're just letting you know we're here," right? And for you to understand that you're not alone, that you're on the right track. So what I've been taught to understand is that to think about what just happened before you saw those numbers. Okay, because sometimes it can be that, like, maybe it's like whatever thought you had, like they're saying yes. It's like a punctuation mark, like an exclamation mark. It can be that. Okay, it can be just to let you know you're not alone. Okay, and if it's your birthday, though, obviously it's about you. If your month and day of birth, it's about you. So I would, if when that happens, if it were me, I'd stop and I'd ask my higher self, "What could this be? What is this? Is there a message for me?" And then trust the next thing that you hear, feel, see, sense in whatever way, and take that information, that answer, hold it to your heart, just feel it in your heart and say, "Okay, does that feel true?" And know that that's your answer. Okay. Alan's saying to me that, and the answer could change in different times. Okay. But clearly, the other side's trying to get your attention when you're seeing those repetitive numbers. Okay, that makes sense. So I hope that helps, Lisa. But a lot of people can have those kind of experiences, getting repeating numbers. That is so common for some people, not for everybody, for some people. Now, let me see. Starfire asks, "You said that Maria is your and Alan's soul daughter." And Maria is, I don't know if she's here today, Maria, well, she usually is. Maria Rodriguez Pereira is our soul daughter. She's a good friend of mine. I met her while Alan was still alive. I met her, and she was a client of mine. And she was living in Hawaii, and we became good friends and lost touch until after she moved to the mainland, until Alan passed away. And I think he definitely guided her to come back into our life. And I later discovered and wrote about in our book, Supernatural Love, that he told me she was our soul daughter when he put the term the word pumpkin in my mind while I was talking to Maria on the phone, and I said to her, "Why am I getting the word pumpkin in my mind?" And she said, "Oh, my mom used to call me Pumpkin." And even then, it didn't dawn on me. I'm so dense. It didn't dawn on me that Alan's trying to say, "She's our daughter. She's our daughter." She said, "Yeah, my mom used to call me Pumpkin when I was a kid." So later he said, "Yes, she's our soul daughter." And I've gone on to meet other members of our soul family. And I'm not going to say who they are. There are two other people. One of them doesn't want to be acknowledged that way at this point. Another one, I don't know how they feel about it, but they know too. But both of those people know too that they're part of our soul family. So, so the question is that Starfire has is when I read that part in your book, something clicked for me, and I began to realize that three of Jim's daughters from a previous marriage are our soul daughters. Could you explain more about soul families and how these connections function in our earth lives? Yes, so many of you have soul families. There are people that are close to you. They don't have to be biologically related to you. Many times they're not biologically related. And so you'll know who they are when you meet them. You just feel like you know them. You just feel this bond with them. And and that's how it is. So on the other side, you will reunite, you'll connect. And I want to make clear though that on the other side, there's everything there, and you certainly have a home there on the other side with them. But you as a soul are so vast that you're having many other experiences with them and sometimes without them. Okay. But they're always there as soon as you say, "Hey, I want to see you." Okay. You get to be with whoever you want to be with and see whoever you want to see. But just like when you were in this body and this world with them, right? When they're together with you, it wasn't like you were glued at the hip and you went everywhere together, did you? Maybe some things you did together, but there are other things that you didn't because the soul has different interests. Now, I already hear somebody, it's funny how spirits remind telling me, if somebody here's thinking, "Oh my goodness, then is my husband off like with his ex-wife or something?" um, let's not like start worrying about that kind of stuff. Okay. You want to be with them. That means they want to be with you. And so you're going to explore whatever you want to explore. Remember, you're multidimensional. So you're having so many experiences that you can't even wrap your mind around when you're in this dimension, this realm of reality. Okay. So I would suggest you not go down those rabbit holes and get all lost and get into your insecurities, because if you knew yourself as a soul that you are, you wouldn't worry for a second about, "Oh, I'm not going to be with my husband," or, "Oh, he's gone with somebody else." The fact that you even think that means you got work to do, means that you've got to heal your lack of maybe self-worth, lack of self-love, your fears, okay, that you're afraid that you're going to lose them. You cannot lose anybody. It is impossible. Now, that said, I want to address what some people might have this fear like, "Well, I don't want to see my dead mother-in-law. She was like so mean to me. I don't have anything to do with her." Well, good news. You don't ever have to have anything to do with her if you cross over. You get to choose who you want to be with, who you want to hang out with. It's like as simple as that. I want to be with my husband. I'll be with my husband. I don't want to be with his mother. You won't be with his mother. You are the creator of your reality. Full stop. As the British like to say, as my husband would say, that's it. That's it. And if you want to connect with them through the veil, the best way to do that, and maybe I almost want to say maybe the only way to do that, is for you to begin to understand who you are as a soul, because that is what they know themselves to be. And so if you think you're less than that, if you think you're just this little old human that's powerless as a victim, you're not going to be a vibrational match to them. How could you be? They don't They know they're not victims. They know that they're eternal. They know that they can create whatever they choose. Now, admittedly, in this realm, in this first level, okay, of earth plane, it takes longer to create. We get it. But still, you can create. Still, you can if you are focused positively on that and you don't think thoughts that contradict or conflict with what you prefer, right? You give up all thoughts of doubt that you cannot connect with them. You get rid of that, kick those fear thoughts and doubt thoughts to the curb, and you stay positively focused, you'll get there. Okay, because thoughts create, remember? So for most of you, Spirit's saying, you've been at this conscious creation stuff for maybe, okay, if I'm going to use the 2 second thing, we're just joking, right? Let's say it's 2 minute thing of your life, whatever, 2 minute of your life. Then you've only been at this conscious creation thing for maybe 1 second, because this is new to most of you. Most of you. And even if some of you have heard it for a while, you still haven't really applied it, you still haven't mastered it. Okay, so you can't expect that now I tell you one time you create with your thoughts and you got it down and whoa, you're off creating everything. No, you gotta take what's in your basement. All the limiting beliefs and fears are holding you down, right? You got to clear the basement. When I opened up as a channel, one of my fellow students was a transcendental meditation teacher, right? He would go to India and he studied under the Maharishi Yogi. And so he was quite spiritually adept. And he and I really clicked. I really liked him. And we became friends. And he said to me at one point, he said, I knew that you would be one of the few, maybe the only ones, who'd really open up as a channel. And I said, why? When there were other people in my class that were more experienced than me. Like one of them was a crystal healer and she's very intuitive. And he said, no, it's not about that, Pam. So, well, what is it about? And he said, it's like this. He says, when I look at your energy field, it's like you don't have any junk in your house. Most people, if their house is reflective of their consciousness, right? Of their mind, of their energy field. Most people, if their house, that is them, is filled from basement to attic with all kinds of crap, with all kinds of fears, resentment, other issues, limiting beliefs. Most people have a lot of stuff. Okay. He says, when I looked at you, it's like clean. It's like clear. And so he says, I knew that you'd be a clear and conscious channel, right? So it's that. And I'm not trying to say I'm perfect, by the way, because not. But I knew that. I said, I don't have issues like the average person does, okay? And even if you do, this is the time of awakening, which means you can clear all the clutter in your consciousness, in your field. And that's what you need to do to raise up your frequency, like clean your house, put your house in order. Be sure that what's in your house, what's in your consciousness, is aligned with your soul's truth. And you'll know what that is because those thoughts, those beliefs will feel positive. If they feel negative, then they're not aligned with who you truly are. And they're limiting beliefs and they're false beliefs. And those beliefs distort you. And distortion makes it difficult to communicate, to meet them halfway. They have to lower their vibration to connect. We have to raise up. Okay. If you can't raise up, you're not going to get there, or it's going to struggle, or your connection will waver. Okay. So the more you can hold steady, you understand that this is a journey of an unfolding, is what Spirit told me. This is a journey of unfolding. It's not a journey that has a beginning and an end. It's a constant unfolding, just as a soul is constantly growing and learning and unfolding and experiencing. So once you understand that you're here to experience this existence, and that's all the soul is ever interested in, is experience anything. It knows that whatever it experiences, even if it's something that it does not desire to experience, your soul knows that you could glean growth from it. It knows that. It knows that no matter how harsh, or difficult, painful the experience that it might encounter, your soul knows that, oh, I can learn from this, and maybe I'll even go further because of the challenge of this. Okay. So it's not like your soul says, oh yeah, I want to suffer. It never says that, but it says, I'll take whatever happens, bring it on. I'm only here for a few minutes, remember? So give it to me because I want this challenge to transcend it. And right now, folks, on this planet, it has never been a better time to, and or even easier, although, easier is kind of subjective, okay? But it's never been a better time or easier time to raise your consciousness and become who you truly are. Because other people are doing it, like myself. I'm not the only one. Many other people are doing it. We're all one on some level, and yet we're unique. So we're taking each other up. Okay. If one person can do something, others can do it. And this morning in meditation, and I always get emotional when this happens, Jesus came to me and I always start crying. I've always felt this connection to Jesus, and I am not religious, okay? But I've always loved Jesus. Literally, my mom would say, well, when I was a little kid and I'd see Jesus movies, I'd point like to him and go I know him. I know him, and I love him, okay? But I wasn't raised in a religious family at all. And Alan says that was by design. I wasn't indoctrinated, but Jesus came to me this morning and he just it's like he's like a brother, and he hugs me and he goes, I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy for you to let people know that we're all one, that I am their brother just as you are my sister, that we're all one. He says, because they put me on a pedestal just like all the other prophets and saints and all that. He says, but we're all one, and we're all in this together. And there's only love on the other side. And this plane is difficult, but the more people who just speak their truth and be authentically who they are, okay, not like you're going to try to hurt people by being who you are, but sometimes by being who you are, you might upset people, because you might have noticed that some people don't want you to be who you are, right? They want you to give to them what they want you to give to them. And if you're not doing it, they're going to get all mad at you. But you are here to do your best to be who you truly are. So I'm just going to answer Danny's last question. And then if there's questions in the chat, I will take a look at them now if you want to start posting them. We will go a little bit over if we need to. So Danny asked about her husband, Rich, and want to know if she knows he's always with her, but if that's so, like, is he bored? Which I think it just cracks me up, that kind of question, because yeah, is he bored? Well, I'm doing my taxes or whatever we're doing, right? Are they bored? And but immediately what I saw, this is what Spirit showed me. Like when they were here in a body, they might have gone along with us, right? Shopping or maybe to the bank or whatever we're doing. And even then, our partners were probably there just lost in their own thoughts, or just gazing out the window or whatever they were doing. And yet they're right there. So that if we said, hey, I need something from you, they would be right there, right? Like, but they'd be there. So they're aware of us. And Alan says, this is how it is in spirit world. They're aware of us, but they may not be 100% focused because they don't need to be, because we are doing the taxes or we are at the hair salon or whatever we're doing. And so why would they need to be like completely focused? But the minute we said in my mind, like, Ellen, like, okay, he's like, what? Like, yes, like they're all right there. Okay, right there, because they're always here. And so he says, why would we ever be bored when we're multidimensional? And now he's showing me, the example we have gave about how you have these multi-channels, like you're in a store that has 20 TV sets, right? Playing different channels. This is actually, you have more channels than that. But let's say all those 20 sets are them. They're having these different experiences, all these different dimensions or planets or whatever. And they're having all these experiences, but they're still with us. Okay. So he's saying to me, we're multidimensional, but we also can be aware of all these different things. But you cannot fathom this because when you're in a 3D body, you need to be here like this, or you can't function here. If you had the full awareness that you have when you were non physical, you wouldn't be able to get anything done because you would be all over the place because this world is not constructed for that purpose. So they're not bored at all. He says, we're never bored. Any question here? Let me see her. Yeah, that TV set analogy is also given by our good friend Bashar, Daryl Anka channels, who talks about the different realities that you exist in that are available, and that you're only in this one frame or one set or one reality, but there are all these other channels going on. They're they're infinite, but you cannot fathom this when you're in 3D. Okay, you just can't. But that's the truth of it. Lisa says, how do our loved ones lower their vibration and meet us halfway? Alan's cracking up. He goes, just trust us. We do. I'll give you an example. That example I gave you about how when somebody's out of body, they try to interact with 3D world because they can. They could go visit their friends and try to go, hey, 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 like you like tap them on the shoulder or something. It's like that. Like they can do that. But that's usually for somebody who's but it doesn't always work. It's not like the person always feels the tap tap on the shoulder or the something, but they can move things, okay, like when they're out of body. So, okay, when I'm talking about out of body, I'm not talking about astral projection. I just want to make that clear. I'm talking about the out of body state where you're actually, which is more like a near death state, where you literally the body, if somebody went up to your body in this type of out of body experience, they would think that you're dead because your breathing and your heart rate would appear like you're dead, but you actually crossed over in the same way of near death. Okay, when you cross over, you are dead, but you're not dead, right? Your body's still alive, but technically you're on the other side and you're seeing everything that's there as if you're dead. So you can go and again, show yourself to somebody, and Alan says this is exactly what they're trying to do. Okay. But it's not easy. So they might encounter somebody, even somebody who themselves is going out of body, cross the threshold. And again, not astral project. Astral projection is mostly exploring your own field, okay, or the astral plane. It's not crossing over. The astral plane is not all of reality, is it? So when you cross over and you try to come back and interact, it's not easy. So they have to focus, they have to work at it. But the more we are developed, then we might be able to perceive them because now we're more sensitive to that. But you could go out of body and somebody else could be the same, be again, not the astral, but on the afterlife, and see each other. But the person, depending on their level of consciousness, who's out of body, might not remember that they saw the other person. And when they come back in their body, they don't recall it at all because everybody's at a different level. So Karen's saying, what is the best way to clear your limiting beliefs if you aren't sure what? You do know what they are. This is how you identify them. You look at your life and ask yourself, where am I struggling? Right? Where am I struggling? So, example, somebody, yeah, I'm going to pick on Alan and use him. He says, "Ah, why not? Pick on me. You always pick on me." So, for example, with Alan, he had an insecurity about his intelligence because he, due to being sick with asthma, missed a lot of school, couldn't go on to university like a lot of his friends did, so he was held back academically and grew up therefore with this insecurity, this fear belief that he wasn't smart, which is completely untrue. He was one of the brightest people I ever knew. He didn't know at the time or understand at the time that the educational system is really just a brainwashing system to control humanity. They're just trying to kind of literally churn out little workers for their for the system, right? They're not trying to teach anybody to be a free thinker. Forget that. You need to fall in line. You need to conform. So he actually didn't realize till after he crossed over that it was a blessing that he didn't have to go through that because he had to develop his own intuition, which is a higher form of intelligence. So, but he still had this like insecurity, a limiting belief. So whenever I would question him about something or he made a mistake, even if it was a minor mistake, he would get all reactive. He'd go well, I didn't da 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 da. He'd get all defensive. And then he'd have the nerve to project his defensiveness on me and say, "Oh, you're the one that's defensive." And I said, "No, I'm not." He goes, "Well, you're arguing with me." And I said, "Wait a minute. Why if am I supposed to just agree with you and that means I'm not defensive if I disagree with everything you say?" And he wouldn't hear any of it, right? So he says if he was more self-aware, he'd be able to see, "Oh, I have this limiting belief that I'm not intelligent." So you look at in your life, where am I struggling or where do people kind of reflect back to me that I might have this issue? Or maybe I get triggered because somebody, hurts my feelings and I overreact. That would be an indication, like again with Alan, like, wow, I'm really getting upset with this person. I think this person's insulting my intelligence. Why am I, biting their head off, right? You have to examine yourself. Spirit's saying it's all right there in your life. You got to take an inventory. Nothing is hidden. It's all there. Look at where you're struggling. Look at the people in your life that maybe have conflict with, because chances are they're mirroring something to you, possibly, that is showing you something you need to look at. Okay, now they're giving me an example. When I was in high school, and I tended to be, maybe like a lot of kids that age, kind of sarcastic. And I said something a little sarcastic to a girl that I knew, and she started to cry. I thought, and she'd go, "That was so mean." And I thought, "Oh my goodness, like oh my, I had to look at my behavior." And she was reflecting back to me that what I was doing. And I thought, why am I being sarcastic? And I realized I was coming from this place of insecurity, trying to act like, like I'm so smart or I'm so together, whatever it is. And I looked at that and I said, well, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm not going to do that anymore. So your life is always showing you what you need to work on. It's designed that way. I can't get around it. Some of you wish you could because you go, I don't want to know, I don't want to hear anymore that I, like with Alan, I don't want to know anymore that I think I'm stupid because I keep bumping into that. Now, Danny says, yeah, my experience with limiting beliefs has been they show up when I'm ready to see and clear them. Right. But you know what they are. So just stop. Or you can even ask your guides, your higher self, okay, if you're not clear, okay, really show me. I'm open to seeing it. Okay, I'm really opening to knowing what that is. I'm open. I'm open. And then trust what you start experiencing instead of getting reactive or upset. Like, oh, just notice. It all starts with being self aware. You cannot change anything unless you choose to be self aware and notice like yourself, like, oh, I see I reacted that way, or wow, why did I treat that person that way? Why did I say that? I don't mean go into over analysis of it, but you need to be aware of how you're moving through life and What comes easy to you is what you believe is possible for you. What you struggle with, like let's say for some people it might be money. They have limiting beliefs about money, and so they keep struggling with money. Or whatever it is, wherever you're struggling, you can be sure there is a limiting belief behind it. Okay, that's it. That's it. And then if you identify it, you just realize, all right, okay, they're giving me this example with money. So you know the saying, money is the root of all evil, right? Money is the root of all evil. And yet there's this other opposing statement like, you know, money's the root of all evil, and but we need money, right, to survive. Like money is a good thing. Without money, we're not going to have any. There are all these beliefs that are conflicting with each other. Like, is money the root of all evil? Or people have money or are bad people? Some people, believe me, some people have this belief that people who are rich are bad people. And if you have this belief that, well, I want to be a good person, now you're on a collision course. Oh, wait a minute. I cannot be a good person and be rich, right? So if you've seen in your life there are people there who are wealthy, or even in our world, and you go look at these people with all the money, they're terrible people. They're corrupt. I don't want to be like that, but I want to be a good person. You need to understand that those beliefs are just in conflict, and you can be a good person and be wealthy. That just you're just showing yourself that there is a clash, and it's illogical because there are good people who are wealthy, even if you don't know them. And you can be a good person and be whatever you want to be, whether it's wealthy, whether it's, living in the house of your dreams or having a certain status. It has nothing to do with it. So you have to start examining, yeah, whoa, I have this not only limiting belief that money is the root of all evil or people who are rich, are bad people, but I've conflicted belief that because I want to be a good person. And now I keep being in conflict with myself. No wonder I can't make any money because my core focus is to be a good person. All right. So you've got to understand you can have whatever belief you want. It doesn't matter. You get to choose and then create your reality. You want to create the reality that rich people are bad people and therefore you don't want to be rich. You can create that reality. And I'm hearing Spirit saying many people have created that reality for themselves. But you create the opposite too. Oh, you create the reality that all rich people are good people. And then you'll meet the people who were rich and good people. And because I promise you, they do exist. Just like there are bad people who are poor. Why would bad people be limited to rich people? Everything exists across the board. Okay. Um, Pam, can you share how they manifest gifts and signs for us on this? I'm assuming on this side. Every spirit has a different way of manifesting things. So I can't really speak to that on a general level. But let me just say this because this is what the other side want you to know. It's about you, less about them, because your soul is driving the bus of your life. Okay, that's just how it is. So while they could break through some of that grief or get through some of that limiting belief, uh, you're the one that is holding your vibration where it is. You're the one creating your life through your thoughts and beliefs. And they have to work with that. They can't change that. Okay, so also, again, you're creating your life. Like I got really upset so many times with Alan, like, well, how come I don't get these signs you give other people? Until I realized on reflecting and really going deep and talking to, my guides, that I created it this way. Okay, so I would suggest to all of you to hold that in your mind, like there's a reason why this is happening, and it is always for your highest good, even if it's not to your liking. And your higher self is the one that's actually running things, even the challenges that you face, okay? Some things are being withheld from you, not by the powers that be, but your own higher self, sometimes your own guides, because I've heard them say, can't let this person go down this road, experience this, because that's not what they planned. Okay, not because they're exerting their influence unduly, but because they know what you planned. And your higher self is running the show in many ways, although your physical mind can get in the way, and it often does. Okay, but they have to work around that, so there's no one answer. Would there be a reason why past one couldn't have residual and it wouldn't have residual energy? No, no. Okay, Sharon, you said I skipped your question. What is it now? Give it to me now. Yeah, I can't keep track of the whole chat while we're doing this. There's no way. It runs really fast. Okay, I see it. I see your question, Sharon. Sharon asks, if we are all one, how come a romantic relationship is not incestuous? And if we are all one, how can we be different colors? You're both. This is what you can't understand on the 3D level. That on one hand, you have access to everything in all of creation, and you're one with everyone. Okay. In other words, you could say you are the Godhead, but you're also the particle that's God. But your physical mind in this reality cannot hold that. It's like, could you see both sides of a coin at the same time? You can't at the same time. Can you look at the coin and see both sides at the same time, like straight on? No. On the other side, you can do that. On the other side, you can see so much more. Okay, so you can have a romantic relationship with somebody, okay, and but you can't, and you can merge with them to a degree. You can't merge completely because then you'd lose yourself, and you're always going to be your unique self, and yet you can be one with them. Like you can, and we're going to teach a bit more of this in the academy, because Spirit gave me this process to teach about becoming more one with them, and therefore being able to like embody our loved one and know without doubt at some point that, okay, this is you, this is what you're telling me. Like we can't get lost in somebody else. You can never lose yourself. Okay, so, and different color things, I don't know about that. Just like the chakra system doesn't really exist in the non-physical realm, the way you and I have been explained it. A lot of things that have been taught to us, you have to understand, in the 3D world came through people, okay, that had their own bias and belief system, and were attempting to give us something to the best of their ability. Some of it was clear, some of it not clear, some of it, you got to be a little bit careful. And what Spirit's saying to me, understand that we're reaching a point in time on this planet where more people are going to have direct experiences, not just of their loved ones, like many of us in our academy are having, but starting with them, with our loved ones, right? Having experiences that we know are real, that no one can prove otherwise because we have our own evidence. But beyond that, more people are going to have evidence of going to the afterlife. Okay, of actually venturing there, and you can't stay there forever because you can't take your body there, but you can visit as NDE experiencers have done. So you can do that in a controlled state. But as more people do that, they're going to bring back more information about what the afterlife really is like. Okay, not just theory, but remember a lot of the teachings and things that have been with us, especially for lengthy periods of time, were not clear. Much some of it is very distorted, or some of it has bits of truth, and then things that were added by the person in a body, or even was changed by somebody else, right? Like the Bible's been altered. So, and all religions are distorted. I'm not going to close with that. This will make me popular. All religions are distorted if, and most of them do this, if they talk about sin and judgment, and if you don't do this, then you're bad. Then that, how can that be the truth from the other side, where all there is unconditional love? And unconditional love, by definition, is inclusive, never rejects anything or anybody, never judges anything or anybody. It accepts all, because all that is all that is, right? So all that is never going to say, sorry, you're not part of all that is because you did this or didn't do that. So most, if not all, religions are very distorted, and they're only giving you a piece of maybe positive, inspiring information, and other parts are just highly distorted and fear-based, okay, and judgmental. That is not the perspective of the other side. And you will remember this when you go home, but you might as well start recalling it now, okay? Because that's the only truth on the other side, that you are one with all that is, and all that is never separates anybody. So if you don't separate anybody, how can there be sin? How can you go to hell? That would mean you're separated into another place. You can't. Impossible. Impossible. God cannot be anything less than God. But you came here to have an existence, to dream the illusion, if you will, that you're separate, because you can't do that on the other side. Now, you might kick yourself for coming here, but I promise you, when you go home, you'll go, wow, that was interesting. What else will I do? And it doesn't mean you're going to come back here, because the earth plane is actually on its final chapter, if you will, this reality that you and I are in. We'll talk about that another time. All right. So we have gone way over. Good thing my VA doesn't have to edit this. So, all right. And if I didn't get to all of your questions, you can post it here or in the comments, and I'll try to get to you. Better to post in the comments below on YouTube, and I'll get to you. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We went a little bit over. And if you have any more questions, again, post them here. And if I don't answer them down here, then I will do another live and we'll address it then. Okay. Love you guys. Take care. Remember that love is the only thing that's real. You will remember that fully when you go home, but why not live from that place now? It doesn't mean being a doormat. Love is strong. Love is powerful. Love protects people. Love stands up, and love isn't afraid to be assertive when it needs to be assertive. Okay, it's not about being weak or passive at all. Think of a mother whose child, you've heard this analogy before, whose child has been run over by a car, and she finds the strength to lift that car up to free her child. She's not coming from a place of passive love, of just saying, oh, I pray everything will be okay. She's taking action, guided, loving action, and she's tapping into her power, to her fierceness, her force. That is love. Love is not destructive. It is constructive. But if it needs to stand up, take a stand and be firm and talk back, it'll do that. Was Jesus complacent? Didn't he get mad? People, I see him now going, hell yes. Constructive anger. Okay, not destructive anger is what it's about. All right, now we really got to be out of here. All right, take care. Thank you. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, why not? Thank you. Take care till next time.